Hey everybody, it's Mike Kaselnak. Happy Monday morning. Sorry for the minute or two late start here. We're going to try some new technology today, or old technology retried today. So we were getting that all set up. So I appreciate your patience. We've got a lot to cover today, and but as always, this is the time to ask your questions. This is the time to bring up things that are working really well. This is the time to bring up things that, hey, this didn't work out so well, and so we can all deal with it. And guys, just so you know, every single question or comment that you say will be valued by people on the call. So never be shy about that. So we did have one question that came in here, and I'm going to let Jeff handle it. We had one of our guys ask, what do you say to a guest at an event who announces, I've had the same financial advisor for 20 years, and there's no way I'm going to switch? So what would you say to a guy like that? And I'll let Jeff handle that one.
Well, I mean, it really, a question like that, I'm wondering how it came up. Because at the event, we're not talking to people about switching advisors. And we're not talking to people about making any changes. We're talking to people about getting information about Social Security and getting information about laddering their portfolios to get more income. And we even say point blank, without changing your investments. So that should never come up. And if you're taping your meetings, send it in, and we'll be happy to look at it and see what went wrong there that would even come up. But that's really not a question that would even come up. And you know what? If it did come up, if you did something wrong and it did come up, I wouldn't confront the person and tell them, they ought to change advisors, because that's not something that you can ever tell somebody. That's a conclusion they have to come to on their own. It's not something that they're going to readily come to on their own. It's something that they're going to have to discover for themselves over the course of an hour and a half to 2 hours, and that's what the disclosure meeting is for. So.
And I'm going to jump in there. Thanks, Jeff. And Jeff, you and I have talked over and over and over to guys, and the analogy we use over and over and over is this: that if a quarterback comes in, and the only thing he says, I got to win, I got to win, I got to win, got to win, got to win, got to win, got to win this. We need to get the Super Bowl. We need to get the Super Bowl. What's he going to do on the first hike?
Yeah, he's going to fumble the ball. He's not going to be thinking about what he needs. He's not going to have his mind on what he needs to be focused on.
Yeah. So a lot of times, this question kind of reminds me of when people will kind of lose sight of what they're supposed to be doing. And at the presentation, instead of the purpose is to get an appointment with people, getting people who want to come in to check out their Social Security and check out the sale. Instead, what do some guys want to do at the event, Jeff?
Well, they want to divorce them from their advisor and get them to move their accounts to them.
And how many meetings are we ahead of where we should be worried about that?
Yeah, we're multiple meetings ahead of where we should be.
Guys, the system is set up on purpose to take a person in baby steps towards that divorcing their guy. We don't bring up divorcing their guy, not at the event, not at the first meeting, not even at the second meeting until when? The end of that meeting. So if you're getting people who are saying, well, I'm not leaving my guy, that says that you got your eye off the ball and you try to take a shortcut to get them convinced that they should leave their guy way before we should even be bringing that up. Okay? So we have some other questions here, Missy, and let me see here. This is good. Guys, great. Thank you. You're asking questions. Have you ever had an advisor attend your seminar or another agent who is just out seeing what others are doing? Absolutely. And it's not really a problem. Jeff, have you ever had no, and I've had probably in 10 years it'd be a problem maybe 5 times. And it's if they interrupt or if they're bringing up or if they're talking to their neighbor or whatever. And then what you do is you basically say, oh, folks, and you know what? I just want to introduce Bob over here. He's an actual advisor, and we encourage other advisors in town to come and learn from us. We do consider ourselves a leader in the community, and especially in the financial advisor community, that we are on the avant-garde. We do tend to bring up subjects before everybody else does. So we always invite people like Bob here to come and view our event. So everybody give Bob a round of applause for coming today. That's what's going to happen with Bob. What's Bob going to do at this point? Shut up or leave. So that's if he causes problems. If they're not causing problems, just let them sit there. What are they going to do? So don't, yeah, and Jeff, we have some guys that get really wound up about it, and then they put it on the bottom of their invite, that advisors aren't welcome. But do you really think that's necessary?
I don't think it's necessary, no.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's necessary either. Let's see, is there introduction letter for CPA attorneys? You get through the yellow pages in the internet. Nope, you just start dripping on them without any introduction whatsoever. Because it's such a short letter, they're going to read it and they're going to say, oh, well, yeah, this is pretty good. So yeah, you don't need to. That's a great question. You don't need an intro letter to CPAs and attorneys that you find through the yellow pages or whatever. We do have an intro letter though, when you really, because the ones we really want to leverage is our current clients, CPAs and attorneys, and we do have an intro letter for those. So, but yeah, we don't have one for. And I thought about creating one, but I think it's even weirder if you have that letter than if you just start dripping on them with information. If you looked at the CPA attorney letter, you'll see that the way the introduction is, it's just basically very conversational. It says, hey, you know, this came up with my practice. I thought you'd find the information helpful for your practice. You know, have at it. Okay, so we have another. This is great, guys. I'm happy. I'd be curious to understand what the most successful seminar guys are using from a demographics standpoint. Age, income. Thank you very much for asking this. The most successful advisors, he's asking what demographics do the most successful advisors use for their invites? None. 60 to 75, no income, no own homes, no nothing. Why? My best clients came to me from trailer parks, apartments with incomes of $15,000. So let the invite everybody that's in the age range. Now, we do have other people, though, Jeff, that want to do demographics. Do we argue with them?
No, we don't argue with them.
Huh. But if you want to ask who's the most successful ones are the ones that don't do that kind of crap. First of all, any type of segmented list that you have. Now, homes they can figure out. They can figure out whether you have a home or not. But income-wise, those, do you really think people know how much income you make? No. So they make judgmental calls on how much you make based on where you live, based on what kind of magazines you subscribe to, based on all sorts of things, which is total garbage. You do not know how much money you make. Do they know, Jeff, whether you have an annuity coming due or that you're a great annuity candidate?
No, they don't.
Do they know that you are a CD owner?
No, they have no idea.
No. What is the only thing they can validate?
Their age.
Age, and whether they live in a home they own or not. I never, of course, I couldn't afford it. With only 12,000 senior households, I couldn't be picky. So, I mean, I mailed to everybody 60 to 75. But our best guys across the country, even guys that are in very prospect-rich environments, the best guys don't try to use demographics. And I've taught some of our least successful guys are the ones that are out there trying to do what? $250,000 of income and all sorts of, trying to narrow it down. Guys, our job is to take crappy prospects and turn them into clients. That's what our whole system is designed to do, from the event, from the invite to the event, to the first meeting, to the second meeting, to the third meeting. And if you try to take shortcuts by weeding people out, all you're going to do is weed out the good with the bad. So if you can't tell, that's a pet peeve of mine, that people try to cherry pick before they're even in a position to cherry pick. So it's 60 to 75. And am I totally out to lunch there, Jeff? I mean, what do you think?
No, I mean, the thing is, especially when we're talking about people that are 60 to 75, typically we're working with people that are near retirement or already retired. So income is really tricky. We all know people that because they're retired and they're only living off Social Security and a small pension, they might only have $40,000 a year in income, but they have $600,000 in the bank. We also know people that live in affluent areas and all their money is in their home, so they don't have anything in the bank. And the reality is, you know, guys, we say cast the widest net possible, and then you decide who you will take on as a client and who you won't. Don't let the list company do that because, like Mike said, they have no idea. They don't know what these people have in assets. They don't know how much they have to invest. They don't have any idea, really, even what their incomes are. Not to mention the fact that when you start talking about that age range, income is no real measure of their net worth. So, you meet with somebody, it only takes you at most 10 minutes once you're into the fact find to decide whether or not they have money and whether or not you want them as a client. And then you can spend the next 10 minutes filtering them out. So if you're so busy that you can't spend 20 minutes filtering through people to find the people that you want to work with, then I guess you've got a good problem. But to be honest with you, I haven't met anybody that really had that problem when we asked to see their calendars. They're meeting with 4 or 5 people a week, so I don't understand this mentality that I gotta whittle it down and so that I don't have to see so many people in my office.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then the last question we have here, and maybe we'll get some more while we're discussing this, is, some of you, this happens quite often where when you do 2 events, one may have 40 people and one may have 15 people. So then you're like, well, what do I do with this 15? Is that a perception problem for everybody there? No, I always tell them that, this was a rollover from earlier, and it's great that the advantage here is we're going to be working with a smaller group of people, and that way you get we'll be able to do a lot more together, a lot more interaction, and this is actually beneficial to everyone. So, this is good for you because we have a much smaller group than we normally have, because now we'll be able, and it's actually fun for me too. We sometimes have these smaller groups. I like doing big groups, and that's what we normally have, but in this particular case, we've got a smaller group, and actually that's a fun, more refreshing thing for me as well, because I can actually get to know you all a little bit better, and we'll get a lot more accomplished. And here's the funny thing, guys, and I think I've talked about this before. The guys that get the high, well, I'll tell you, here's my perfect event. One person comes, they have $1 million, and they move it to me. That's the perfect event. So the number of people there has nothing to do with it. I would tell you that the guy who actually, I was around $14 to $15 million production my last 2 or 3 years in production. So I have since mentored guys who have done way more than that. They beat what I did. One of them, our top guy, was in L.A. who did $20 million of production. He averaged 12 people per event. That's all. 12 people per event. So that tells you the power of the ability to sell and the selling system versus the marketing. Because he was able to get, of those 12 people, he was able to get 6 people in, but he was closing 4 or 5 people for big money every time he had an event. Because he was excellent. He was the only person other than Jeff that ever mastered this system. So should you, is it a perception problem? No. It's just say basically, listen, I normally have larger groups. Luckily today we have a smaller group. That's refreshing for me because now all of you will have better access to me. We can have a lot more fun and get to know each other a lot better. So it's not, it's how you present that. So that's a good question, but don't worry about it.
And make sure that you don't have a ton of empty chairs sitting there. So clean up the room before you get there that you don't have.
Yeah. And Steve actually brought up a great point. Thank you, Steve. You actually reminded me of something that I wanted to say. The best events, because Steve says here, he says, my most successful closing ratios come with smaller groups at a 70% closing ratio. And I would agree, because here's the 2 best things that can happen to your event. One is that it's small, because you do get, for smaller groups, you do get much larger closing ratios. And the other funny thing is, and I think, Steve, you might have even experienced this as well, is if your projector breaks, that's also, you get higher closing ratios. So now if we could figure out a way to have the projector break every single time, we'd do that. But if you had multiple, if you have people that come to more than one area event, it's going to look weird if your projector breaks every single time. But why do you think when you have smaller groups and when the projector breaks, you have higher appointments? So let me see some comments on that. Why do you think when you have smaller groups and your projector, or your projector breaks, you have a higher percentage of appointments ratio, or a higher appointment ratio? Why do you think, guys? Closer one-on-one ability. Exactly, Steve. Somebody else is asking questions. Empathy. Empathy, actually, Casey, that's a big thing when the projector breaks. They think, hey, we're all on the same side. I'm here to, I hope this guy wins. And that, especially if you've done a good job of greeting people beforehand. If you haven't done a good job of greeting people beforehand and your projector breaks, they think it's hilarious that your projector breaks. But if you've done a good job of greeting people and they like you and the projector breaks, you absolutely right, Casey. There's a lot of empathy there. And then Rick says a lot more attention to each attendee. I totally agree with you, Rick. When it's smaller, you have more attention to each attendee. And when your projector breaks, you start talking to the people instead of doing a quote-unquote presentation. Because remember, I always tell people one of the most important things to do at an event is what? Call people by name, have conversations with people. Don't do it like I do it. If you watch in the presentation, the video presentation, I do it the wrong way. I present at a crowd instead of to the person. That is a major flaw in the way that I present. And it's because I'm very shy and I don't relate well to people one-on-one. So I present to the group and it helps to get over my stage fright. So I can be a different person up there. But if you can actually relate to each person individually, that's when you're going to have unbelievable off-the-map appointment ratios like Steve was talking about when you get those 70%, 8% appointment ratios. I saw another thing up here. Oh, and I didn't talk in this. The other person was asking the most successful guys are they using Ruth Chris Steakhouse or Golden Corrals. They're using the middle-of-the-road restaurants. They're not using the bottom, and they're not using the top. If you do the top, first of all, it's kind of weird. And the analogy I give is this, is when somebody comes over to your house, you're expected to what? Give them a cool beverage or hors d'oeuvres or feed them or do something, right? It's what we do in the U.S. We feed people when we're hosting them. But when somebody comes over to your house, if you start putting out caviar and exotic cheeses and you're grilling filet mignon on or Kobe beef on the grill, I mean, it starts to be a little what? Weird. I mean, people think you're being being uppity if you do that. So, but they do expect decent food. So what we give them is what we would give to our friends, which is decent food, a middle-of-the-road Olive Garden type restaurant, but not a Ruth's Chris Steakhouse and not the low end either, just right smack dab there in the middle. So thank you guys. This is fantastic. I love all these questions. Please keep doing this on every Monday. I appreciate it very much. So any other questions before we get started? Excellent. So what we're going to do, the new technology or old technology brought back that we're going to do today is I've got several different tape reviews that we're going to be playing, and just due to the quality of the tapes that were sent to me, and when we say sent to me, the tapes, they're not really tapes. As you know, you have a digital recorder, you email them to us. But because of where they placed the recorder or because of whether they had it on conference or individual, some of them are easily heard and some of them are not easily heard, but I want you to get an idea of what can be accomplished when you send in a tape review. And so, Jeff, some people, well, and I guess I should have asked some people that I've done tape reviews with, is our job, Jeff, when we're doing a tape review, to belittle the advisor?
Oh, no, absolutely not. We're there to help you get better, to hear so you can see what the client's thinking and why they would be thinking that, and to know how to get better for next time, and to kind of hear how the flow of the meeting. But no, we're not here to make anyone feel bad or.
No, and I think that the guys that I've reviewed their tapes, I think they've sent in multiple tapes, because once they get that first one sent to me, they see that I'm not there to just hammer them. I'm here to help you fix a problem. And guys, I want you to recall how I made the system. I didn't sit down and design the system from scratch and say, boy, here's what I'm going to do, and here's what I'm going to do, here's what I'm going to do. How I went from making $50,000 a year to $350,000 in just 1 year was I taped all those meetings. And all I did with those meetings, because I didn't create the system created it itself. All I did is say, okay, there's the one problem I want to fix. And then I would say, I'm going to, one of the first problems I fixed was the fact that I had to have them not like their advisor without getting them defensive, without having them have that knee-jerk reaction to not liking their advisor. It took me 3 months of tapes to figure out how to do that. So I would try something. And then I would see, nope, they still got defensive. And then I'd try something different at the next meeting. And I'd say, oh, they're still defensive. I'd try something different. Oh, they're still defensive. Oh, wait, you know what, they're a little bit less defensive. And I would do a little bit more of that. And that's how I was constantly fixing things. And here's what I found. When I figured out how to have them figure out their advisor was screwing them without getting them defensive, I had now fixed that for 8 years. That was broken. 8 years that was broken. But when I finally figured out how to fix it by using the tapes, guess when I ever made that mistake again? Of attacking their advisor. Never. Especially when I was recording, because I knew that I was going to hear that I was making that mistake again. That's the beauty of tape reviews, is once you figure out a problem and it's fixed, that problem is fixed forever. And Jeff, how many guys have we met who have been in the industry for 20, 25, or even 30 years that are making $100,000, $150,000, and that's what they've been making for the last 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, that's very typical of somebody that comes to us. They're plateaued.
And yeah, and why have they plateaued?
Well, they've just been doing things the same way, and they're not getting any better, so things are just kind of going along.
And when we listen to the tapes and have them see what's happening when they're having these conversations with the clients, is improvement like 10%, or is it exponential when we start reviewing these tapes?
No, it's exponential. I mean, they really start to take off.
And it's because, guys, you don't get, when you fix problems like this, I mean, if you think about your car, let's say your car is misfiring, and you fix it. Does it get 10% better, or does it turn around and get immediately 100% better? If your car is misfiring, it doesn't get 10% better. No, it's either broken or it's fixed. And when it's fixed, it's 100% better. And that's what we do when we fix these things, is that particular issue is fixed forever, and you'll never have a problem again. You start to see exponential increase in your success ratio. So what I want to cover today is some of the first meeting things. So we're going to cover setting the tone, and we're going to show you basically how you can get into trouble. So this first one I'm going to show you is that about questions. Now, guys, do we want any questions? Let's see some answers. Do we want any questions at this first meeting? Do we want any questions at this first meeting? Type in your answer to that. No, I've seen some no's. Exactly. The whole script is designed so we don't get questions, because if we answer their questions, they're going to what? Take control of the meeting, and then they're going to get all their information, and what are they going to do with all this information? Take it back to their current guy. That's the easiest thing to do. So instead, if we don't answer the question, we got problems as well, right? Because then we're going to look like we're trying to avoid their questions, and they're going to decide, I don't want to work with this guy. I can't trust him. So what we're going to do is make sure they can't ask questions. And I'm going to show you how not to do it, because the setting the tone is all designed to not let them ask questions without letting them know they can't ask questions. So what I'm going to do is show you how not to do it. Now this one I think you can hear, and I apologize, some of these tapes are going to be a little bit louder than others, so you're going to have to listen carefully. But this will be the first meeting, and you see he does everything all the way right, all the way up to the compensation portion, and then all of a sudden he invites questions, and look at what happens. So here we go.
Beverly Smith, number 1, January 23rd, 07. Jerry, would you be sure and hold all my calls while I'm meeting Beverly? Great, thanks.
Now he did do one thing good there, which is he said what? Told his assistant to do what, guys? Did you hear what he just said? Hold all my calls. So he's following the system just like he should be. Yep, hold all my calls, Rick, exactly.
And is it okay if I go over kind of how these meetings normally go before we get started? All right, well, what I want to do is answer any questions you have. Oh, good, good. Oh, good. Well, that's why we have it. Well, and the whole idea is I want to answer as many questions as I can in general questions, basically, because to get into more specific questions, I've got to take more time and look more specifically, and I want to cover as much ground as we can today. And so that's really the purpose of this first meeting. And what I'm looking for as we go through your situation is I'm looking for any areas where I might be able to enhance what you've already been able to accomplish. So that's the focus I have.
Okay.
And here's what I found over the years. I found that, I guess it's about half the people that come in. There are some areas that I can help with. They want my help. They're ready to make changes as long as it puts them in a better position. And so how I get paid when someone comes on board as a client just depends on what areas I'm helping them with, what tools we're using, and how they choose to pay me. I mean, that's part of the process. And so that's with about half the people. Then the other half of the people that come in, maybe there's not a basis for a formal relationship at that time for whatever reason.
What did he miss there, first of all? He took a shortcut. Let's see how sharp you guys are. What portion of the setting the tone did he miss? Anybody figure that out? It's not a, let me take notes. Absolutely right, Mickey. Let me take notes. So did she say that she had a lot of questions for him? Yes, she did. And the whole main purpose, there's three purposes of taking notes, and thanks for catching that, Mickey. The three purposes of taking notes is, number one, to be courteous. Number two, let her know that why we're writing things down or why we're taping things. But most importantly is to get her mind off of what? Questions. He did not do this, and you can see he's going to bite him here in just a second.
Sometimes literally I've had people, well, their son-in-laws are broken. Don't tell them I came in. But so, whatever, maybe things are in pretty good shape. Don't have that problem? Okay. So basically with those people, I'm just looking, again, for any areas where I can enhance their situation. I'm looking for tools or information I can provide. Those people, they don't pay me anything. But they'll take that information home and address some of their concerns, kind of do it themselves, kind of on their own. So that's the general outcome. Does that sound okay?
Well, I've been to that.
Oh, so Mickey, you've done a lot of tape reviews. Are you supposed to say, is that okay, after you talk about compensation? So about half the people there would take this information and go home and do it themselves. Is that okay? No, Mickey, why? What happens if you ask a question at that point? You got to move on, because guess what's going to happen now? He said, is that okay? And she goes, oh, no, that's fine. You've given her permission to speak at this point, and she's already told you what? She has lots of questions, so guess what's going to happen? You're right, Mickey. He's going to invite tons of questions, and look at what happens here.
I remember.
Yeah, I used that there.
Uh-huh. Oh, I remember. Yeah.
Oh, okay, well, good. I just wanted to be sure that I got off on the right ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I appreciate it being invited the second time. I think it's super great.
Well, we had, I put that new information together in kind of a little different format.
Well, this is one of the things that I'm going to ask.
He is now what, guys? What's happened to this meeting? Let's see. Somebody besides Mickey. Mickey gets it. You're off track, but worse than that. What's happening here? Lost control. You're right, Mickey, Rick. You're right. He's lost control because now she's off to ask a bunch of questions, and I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I will tell you for the next 5 minutes, guess what happens? Question after question after question. And what's wrong with this, guys? What's wrong if he's got to now answer all these questions she has over the next 5 minutes? Besides being off track, besides being lost of control, what's happened? Loss of control is bad enough because that's the whole purpose setting tone is not. She isn't. Yeah, that's right. She isn't her client. She isn't his client yet. So he's answering all of her questions. What will she likely do with all of that information? She gets what she wants and goes on her way, Steve. Exactly right. So this is an example of when you ask questions. If you don't follow the script and you start to wing it, guess what's going to happen? They're going to start asking questions because that's the whole reason they're there. This whole setting the tone is to make sure they cannot ask questions and give you control of the meeting, okay? So that's an example of one of the things that can go wrong. So now the second thing I'm going to show you is how when you, because what do we want them to, the epitome or the end of the setting the tone is what? To get them to tell us why everybody in our town works with us. Why everybody in our town works with it. And I want to show you a gentleman who did everything perfectly. He did everything perfectly except setting up that question. And I'll show you when you do everything perfectly, you prevent them from asking questions, which he did a great job of. So we're going to listen to the next tape where he does a great job of taking control of the meeting and not letting them ask questions by following the script. But then he takes a shortcut to getting them to say why so many people want to work with them, and because of that, they fight him on it. And I talked to this gentleman, and he came up with a very good reason. This is a fantastic lesson to be learned. He says, Mike, I wasn't comfortable doing it the way that you said. So he and I sat down and worked out a way that he was comfortable with. But that's a good lesson, which is this. If you're not comfortable with some portion of the script, should you just skip it? Jeff, how much of the script, do we have any meat or fat in this script?
No,
we just throw stuff in there for the heck of it, or is there a reason for every single syllable we say in the script?
No, this first script is really important that you stick to it word for word. Opening the meeting and setting that first impression, you don't want to just wing that.
And don't change it willy-nilly yourself. If you're not comfortable with something, call Jeff or myself and we'll help you massage it to the point where it'll be comfortable and still do what it's supposed to be doing. But by just skipping it, you'll see if we hadn't done this tape review, every single time that he'd ask that question, why do you think so many people work with us? They'd say, I don't know. And guys, if all you get every time you do that, they say, I don't know, how long are you going to do it? So Jeff, if you were, every time you got to that point, you said, why do so many people here in Rochester work with me? And all you got was, I don't know, how long are you going to do it?
Yeah, eventually I'd stop asking the question.
Because you feel like an idiot asking the question when you don't get the right answer.
Right.
So there's a reason for everything we do here, and we want them to give you the right answer here. So by skipping it, he was going to continue to give that wrong answer, the wrong answer, the wrong answer until he quit doing it, and then they're not giving him control of the meeting. So if he hadn't said in the tape, this could have really affected his income going forward. But by sending in the tape, we fixed the problem, and he's not doing that anymore. So listen to what happens. I'm going to let's play the whole thing because he does a great job of everything all the way up to the point of taking a shortcut to why so many people work with him. So let me get here.
So first of all, would it be okay if I kind of just told you what we generally do at these meetings?
Sure.
All right. Well, what we would try to do here is we're going to answer any questions, that came out of the meeting that you're at. Of course, they're going to be pretty generic at this point in time. I don't know anything about you, so I can answer kind of generic kind of questions. What we try to do here with your permission, I'm going to find out some more about your goals, and with that, determine if there's some things, that we can help you with, help enhance, what you're already doing, if that's okay. So, what we do here, it's, we give you, kind of, it's a gift of our time, and now we have an hour of time or whatever it takes to go through some of the things we talked about and see if we can't, give you some more information about, some of those things. We know that everybody's busy, so we thank you for coming in, and, you've got a lot of things to do, I'm sure. We all have got, less time and more things than we can get done, right?
That's the way it seems.
Yeah, so I don't know, the more time we have, the more we fill it in with stuff, right? So that's all tough. So, so it's kind of it's a gift of our time for people to come into way of our thanking people for doing that, and we'll try to go through, some of your stuff here as well. By the way, it would be okay if I took some notes.
Yeah.
I don't remember quite as well as I used to.
Same here.
I used to remember. I used to be able to look at a page and just remember it, a week later, but I can't.
So here's a great point, too. He did things a little bit out of order. Doesn't matter. I mean, I prefer that you do them in order because it works out, but just because you do some things out of order, because he talked about thanking them before he said, do you mind if I take notes, but it still accomplished what he needed was to take their mind off of questions. So it still worked well. So don't panic, say, oh my gosh, I did it out of order, I got it. No, just keep going with the flow. So I think he's doing a fantastic job so far.
I can't do that anymore. I can remember stuff from 10 years ago better than I can remember what I had for breakfast yesterday.
Yeah. That age.
It's that age, yeah. I told my doctor, I said, I don't remember as well as I used to. And he said, well, if you put your keys down, you can't remember where you put them.
Now, I did slap him a little bit here, and what do you think I slapped him for? He's doing an example of something that drives me crazy, and see if Jeff, if you can come up with what I would think that would drive me crazy, since you know me.
Well, he's trying to make small talk. He's trying to.
Yes.
It's his way of trying to.
Why do I hate small talk?
Bond with them. Well, because it doesn't move the process forward, and it makes you look like a salesperson.
It makes you. Why does small talk make you look like a salesperson, Jeff?
That's what every salesperson does when they walk up to you in the
Exactly.
store or in the car lot.
So if it walks like a dog and smells like a dog and talks like a dog, it's a dog. So yeah, this is not the appropriate time to be doing rapport. We have a much better place down the road of doing rapport. So
That's not a problem. If you've got a set of keys in your hand, you don't know what they're for, that's a problem. That's a problem. So, so long as I can do that, I can make do so. So it turns out about half the people that come in here, we actually wind up working with in some way, shape, or form. Some of them we just help with their documentation. We help with looking at the beneficiaries, maybe that's subtitled and things like that. Some people we help with their Social Security, see if we can't, get them more money than perhaps they're already doing, depending where they are in their, life, stream. Some people we use that sales software. I don't know if you remember, we talked about, inputting your investment data, and we help figure out how to get more money out of it while guaranteeing you're never going to run out of money, if you recall that. So some people we do, some way, shape, or form. And the way we get paid for that really depends on, what we do, how much we do, what you're comfortable in. We're full service, so we actually get paid in, a number of different ways. And it turns out that half the people who come here don't pay us anything because we're really able to answer a lot of the questions that they may have, or it's not a fit or whatever, and they're able to take the stuff that information we provide and, go home and get most of it accomplished, pretty much on their own, right? So would it be okay if I ask you a question?
So far, besides that little small talk issue, which is not a huge issue, guys, not a huge issue, but it's just if you start a little bit, guess what's going to happen as you go through the meeting? More. I don't want to see it until the appropriate time. But so far, he's done a fantastic job all the way up to this point. But now he's going to be setting up that very important question, which is why do so many people work with us? So how he's going to do that is what the script says to do is explain that, hey, communication is two-way, and all you do is generally one way, so you're really appreciating that two-way conversation because what you get from that is feedback. And we're going to have him explain that we're going to ask this question for feedback. So why are we going to stress that we're getting this question for feedback? Why? So let me see some answers here. Why do we stress feedback? Do you remember why we do that so much before we ask that question? See how many of you have paid attention the last few months. Guys, is this a difficult question? Why do so many people work with us here at Kaselnak and Clark? Do you think that's a difficult question to ask in the first 4 minutes of talking to them? Heck yeah, because if they say, if they give me that reason, they've just what? Had to admit that I'm an expert. Do they really want to do that? If they admit that I'm an expert, what is that? We're halfway to what? Them buying from me. So they don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. So here, again, this is something we use continually in the 5Q system is this. If you have a difficult question to ask, always tell them why you're asking it before you ask it. Always tell them why you're asking that question before you ask it. Because if instead if they're not 190% sure why I'm asking, hey, why do you think so many people work with us, they're going to assume the reason I'm asking it is to get them to tell me I'm an expert, and they don't want to do that. So I don't want them assuming that. I want them to know immediately why I'm asking it. So the reason I'm going to ask this question is for feedback, so I can help the people I work with even more. So if we take a shortcut there, though, you're going to see what happens.
Question though. It turns out, we do those seminars, the one that you're at. We do them, quite often, and we also, do talks to groups as well, and that's really us talking at people, and doesn't really give us that one-on-one feedback, right, that we need to help us figure out what people are really looking for, to help us make sure that those presentations really are delivering what people are really looking for. So I know at the meeting we talked about how you need to look at what ifs in the future. You looked at how we could increase odds of doing certain things. We talked about how with some people we can increase their Social Security by as much as 67%, get them an extra $500-600 a month depending where they're at. We talked about the sales software, how we can get those up to 5-6-7% or more and get you lifetime incomes out of your investments, all those kinds of things. I know you did this.
So far he's doing a fantastic job, because what he's doing now is saying what? He's giving them all the reasons. He's planting the seeds in the front of their brain on the answer they can give him when he finally asks, Why do you think so many people work with us here at Kaselnak and Clark? So he's planted the seeds in the brain. He's given them 4 different things that they could actually say. So he's done a fantastic job up to this point. So they don't get the deer in the headlight syndrome of when he finally asks the question, them saying, trying to grasp for what to say. He's planted those seeds in their head so they know, hey, because you have the sales software, or because you do Social Security planning, or so he's planted those seeds in the head. Now, let's see, guys, what is he supposed to do next before he asks that question? Anybody? Let's see how good of students you are. What's he supposed to do next before he asks that question? So Jeff, let's say that you're eating with Rochelle on a busy street in Chicago. Okay, so you're at an outdoor cafe, and you're having a somewhat romantic dinner. You're having a conversation. You're really involved in conversation. And I lean over the rail and I say, hey, Jeff, hey, sir, I need to find out where the Wrigley Building is. Where is it? What's going to be your reaction?
I'm going to be irritated that he's interrupting us and, wondering why he's bothering us.
And what if he doesn't even do it that route? He's just like, hey, dude, where's the Wrigley Building?
Yeah, you're still going to be...
How are you going to feel?
Yeah, you're still going to feel put out that, you've been interrupted.
Yeah. What if I said, sir, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I can see I apologize. It looks like you're having a great dinner. I don't really mean to bother you. I just that I'm new to the city, and again, I apologize. I should have had a map. My phone battery is dead. I don't know, so I know that I should have been better prepared. I apologize for interrupting your dinner, but my wife just called me. And again, I'm sorry, but if you could help me, I'd really appreciate it. She's at the Wrigley Building. She's a little frantic. She feels a little bit lost. So I'm sorry for interrupting your dinner, but would you be willing to point me in the right direction of the Wrigley Building? Now, how do you feel?
Yeah, I want to help him out.
But why then, but versus the other way?
Well, because he realized he was interrupting. He knows that he's, doesn't have any right to ask this, but and really not now, and the timing's not good, but for all these reasons, I really need this favor, so I'm willing to help him out.
And we do like to help people out if it doesn't cost us anything, right? When somebody asks for directions, how rare is it somebody won't give you directions? And when people ask me for directions, I always feel good about helping them. I love helping people if it doesn't cost me anything, and I think most people are that way. But how do I like to help people if they just, hey, buddy, where's this? I mean, if they just blurt something out. We don't like that. And see, did Jeff know why I was interrupting his dinner? Did you know why I was so frantic?
Yeah.
My wife was in trouble.
Yep.
So what I'm going to do here is, do I really, guys, I've known them now for personally on a one-to-one basis for what, 4 minutes, 5 minutes? Do I really have a right to ask them for a personal favor at this point? So we got lots of right answers here. A lot of people are saying, ask permission, ask permission, ask permission, ask for a big favor. You guys are exactly right. See, because I don't have a right to ask a favor right now, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So if I'm going to ask that favor, I want to apologize for asking that favor. So I'll say, number one, it comes in 3 parts. Number one, you could really do me a big favor. For example, I use those evaluation forms. And I've actually used the information in the evaluation forms that you had at the event to actually change the event. I didn't know that people wanted to talk about Social Security until people started writing on those evaluation forms they want to talk about Social Security. So I actually use that information, that two-way feedback, that two-way communication, and that feedback to help me change so I'm talking about things that people want to talk about. So the first one is evaluation. The second one is going to be a thumb on the pulse. And it helps me when I get that two-way communication. When people give me that feedback, it helps me keep my thumb on the pulse of the people that I'm helping, the people that I'm talking to, the people that I work with. That feedback that I get helps me know what they're thinking, what they think is important, what they think is not important. So I don't waste time on things that aren't important, but I spend a ton of time and research and provide more tools for them on the things that they are important. So that's 2, thumb on the pulse. The third one is if you'd really do a big favor, it'd be I'd really appreciate it on a personal basis. So you say, so again, I would really appreciate it if you could do me a favor, if you'd be willing to give me feedback. I mean, I'd look at it as a huge personal favor if you'd be able to give me some feedback. If I asked you a question, would you be willing to give me some feedback? Now, beyond a shadow of a doubt, do they know why I'm going to ask this next question? Why? So that I can pump myself up, so that I can look like an expert? No. Why do they know I'm going to ask this question? Why? Come on, guys. That's right, feedback. Feedback, feedback, feedback. That's right. So, but if I don't do all of that apologizing up front, here's what can happen. If I just jump in and ask the question, they're going to make the assumption that, hey, you're just trying to get me to say you're an expert, and I'm not going to say it. So here we go. We did, this particular gentleman didn't set that up that way, and because he wasn't comfortable, we've since fixed it for him, and he's now doing that. But up to this point, he wasn't, and I'm going to show you what the danger of skipping that portion.
Evaluation here, but there's no real substitute for that, 101. So would it be okay if I ask you a question? Would you give me some feedback?
Mm-hmm.
And so why do you think it is that, so many people in the Plymouth area actually, come in here and work with us? What would you think?
Well, first of all, there's a mistake there. What was the mistake there, guys? When you ask that question, you are supposed to do what? Yeah, Eric says don't talk. Right, don't talk. Shut up. And the record, and Jeff, I don't know if you've gone any longer with this, but the record that I have is one gentleman had 40 seconds that he had to shut up. And that's, he said, I asked him how long it felt like. He says, it felt like 2 hours, but if it felt like 2 hours for me, I know it felt like 6 hours for the other guy. So, he who speaks first loses. Yeah, that's right, first to talk loses, Eric, exactly right. So then we start to, and somebody said apologize. Yeah, it almost seems like you have to explain yourself that you've lost the power of the question. So now let's see what happens.
That would be. Have some ideas?
What to do?
But half the people. Well, why? Do
let me pull it back because you'll hear what happened. What everybody fears happens.
So would it be okay if I ask you a question? Would you give me some feedback?
Mm-hmm.
And so why do you think it is that so many people in the Plymouth area actually come in here and work with us? What would you think that would be? Have some ideas?
What to do?
But
They know they do. So is that what you want to hear, guys? No. Okay. So I'm running out of time here, so I can't show you the next one. But the next one was a gentleman who did it perfectly. He got all the way up to the point. He said, why do you think so many people work with us here? And they said, well, because you're an expert when it comes to senior issues. You handle just people who are over 60 years and older, and everybody else out there handles anybody that comes to see them. So that's why so many people work with you, because you work with people 60 and over. And then what are you supposed to do when they say that, guys? Agree. And Mickey, agree a little bit or agree a lot? That's right, Eric. Absolutely. A lot. You say, absolutely. That is the reason so many people work with us here. I'm glad that my message is on target. Thank you for saying that, because that's exactly why so many people work with us. No, I appreciate you saying that. That makes me feel good that my message is on target. See, you've reached the holy grail. You want to make sure that everybody in the room now knows, everybody in town that's worried about the thing that they're worried about, all work with me, and you just said it, folks. You just said it. So I make sure they absolutely know it. Well, and I can't play the tape because it's, first of all, a little bit soft, and we're running out of time here, so because I want to get to the final tape. It's that he got all the way up to that point that gave him that, and they said, great, did you bring in your information? So they said, well, because you're an expert, you only work with seniors, everybody else works with anybody, so you're an expert on senior issues. He goes, okay, super. Did you bring in the information sheet? So he got all the way up to the Holy Grail and then walked away. so, guys, when you finally get to that point, make sure that everybody in the room knows what they just said, which is that, hey, you're an expert, and reinforce what he said, make exactly right, over and over and over, so everybody in the room knows that that's what you said, that I'm an expert. Does that make sense to everybody? Super. Now I'm going to play this last one here. This guy just nailed it.
First meeting with the details.
Oh, it's a little soft. Let's see if it gets. I'm going to go 2.
My whole practice is seniors, and then with your permission, I'd like to ask you some questions too, because I had everybody fill out long-term one way or the other, and they pay me in any number of ways just based on what I do for them. The other half of the people that I meet with, they can take the information I give them and go off and do it on their own. I'm here if they need me or call me for something, but they pretty much can do it on their own. So.
Okay, so I'm sorry for being a little bit light, but you have to listen very carefully. And here's how I want you to do. Count how many times he says the word feedback. Count how many times he says the word feedback. Because he just said half the people will be able to take this information, go home, and do it themselves. Now he's getting into the getting them to say that he's an expert. Count how many times he says the word feedback.
That's how it pretty much breaks down. Well, yeah. Yeah. Well, one last thing, before we get started, if I could just ask you, I rely on feedback, getting feedback. My whole practice is seniors, and it's really important for me to get feedback. I mean, I don't want people coming in here and have me talk to them about things that don't even concern them. So feedback is very important for me. So if you wouldn't mind giving me some feedback, I appreciate it. I mean, I had everybody fill out the evaluation forms of the workshop, and I go through each one of those, and we're constantly trying to make it better. So, as I said, it's very important to me that I get feedback, and I really would be a personal favor to me if you could just help me with that. So, so I can just, improve things all the time. That's how I can keep on top of things. Because, as I said, everybody I work with is a senior. So it's very, obviously, I've got to keep on top of things. So if you wouldn't mind me asking you, would you mind telling me, why do you think so many seniors work with us here at Falco Financial Services?
So do we have a count, guys? I know it's very light. I apologize for that, but we have to work with the tapes that are sent to us. How many times did you guys hear the word feedback said? Anybody? 6? Yep. Mickey? Anybody else? 6? Yep. That's what I counted. Actually counted 6. So 6 times he brought up feedback. And then let's see what happens here.
Why do so many seniors work with me? I guess because you're really helping them out. Because you're specializing with the seniors, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
And what you're not hearing, and I apologize again for the quality of the tape, but what's happening here is she's working through in her mind why so many people work with them, and he's chiming in or letting her work through it herself. He's just saying, sure. He's waiting for her to work it out, and she actually ends up saying that, well, it's because you work only with seniors and their tax issues, and you're the person who knows these things, where the other advisors out there just don't know these specific issues that you talk to us about. And then he gets on their side and says, yeah, absolutely, that's the exact reason why people do work with me. I appreciate you saying that, and I'd love to play the tape. It's just, I guess it's too light. So, but he does get on their side, so he does it perfectly. So when she was certain, 120%. I mean, when you say feedback, feedback, feedback 6 times, guess what she assumes? The reason you're asking that question is for feedback. And is anybody really, let's talk about, are people who are jerks willing to give us feedback? Yes, because people who are jerks love to give feedback. That's all they do their whole life is give feedback, whether it's wanted or not wanted. And are people who are nice, are they willing to give us feedback? Yes, because they're nice. So the whole purpose of that second page of the setting the tone script is to let them know that the reason you're asking this huge favor is to get feedback. And the reason you need feedback is not to help you, it's to help you help others. And if they're 110% sure that, when you ask for that, so if I was asking you a question, would you be willing to give me feedback? Sure. Why do you think so many people work with us here at Kaselnak and Clark? And look, what did my tone sound like? Why do you think so many people work with us here at Kaselnak and Clark? It's what? It's laid back. It's a little bit tentative. It's not aggressive. So why do you think so many people work with us here at Kaselnak and Clark, Jeff?
Yeah.
Is that how I asked it? Or Jeff, if I asked you a question, would you be willing to give me some feedback? What's my intonation? Am I ending that sentence with an up or a down? An up.
With an up.
Why?
I mean, because you want it to be, you want to sound more asking, less forceful, more just more sheepish, more.
Yes. And I just got back from Canada, and a lot of Canadians think that Americans are abrasive and are very in your face. And when I was talking to all the Canadians there, guess how they end every sentence, Jeff?
I'm guessing with an up.
Eh? Eh? You know, we've all heard that. Eh? They always, every sentence all they talk about is, eh? Can I help you? I mean, how about this weather? Everything's an up, 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 because, and the reason they don't like it is because we end up with more forceful and endings. We always end up with downs, like we're telling them how it is. And what we don't want to do here is tell them how it is. We want to say, so why do you think, Jeff, so many people work with us here at Kaselnak and Clark? How does that sound compared to, Jeff, why do you think so many people work with us here at Kaselnak and Clark?
Yeah, it sounds much more like you're just asking, like you just want to know.
Yes, when you have that uptick at the bottom, or when you're a little bit more sheepish about asking. So I wanted to go into a couple other things. We'll have to save for another day. But guys, do you see the power of listening to these tapes? Because if this gentleman who was asking questions, he couldn't, the first one we covered, who got caught with those questions, he couldn't figure out why he kept losing control of the meetings. And he swore that he was doing that script how well. When I asked him, guys, what do you think? How well do you think he did that script? Do you think? I said, well, are you following the script? Guess what he told me? 100%, Mickey, exactly right. 100% I follow that script. So when we listen to it, he says, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done that. I don't know why I was asking questions. No wonder she got in there and took control of the meeting. See, every person, Jeff, and please tell me I'm wrong, that we talk to that tells us that, I don't know, the meetings aren't going well, this isn't working. When they send in the tapes, what do we find?
Well, we find that they're not doing it the right way, that they're making mistakes.
And here's the good thing, guys, though. When you fix the mistake, it's fixed forever. Forever. And that's when you, exactly, Mickey says, it's hard to evaluate yourself objectively. See, the tapes don't lie. I didn't even have somebody review the tapes with me. Just when I reviewed them myself, I wanted to puke at what I was saying. I mean, it's a hard thing to do. I understand it's a hard thing to do to listen to tapes. You know what? Successful people do what unsuccessful what? Are unwilling to do. Tape reviews are your ticket to doubling and tripling your income. And when you send in a tape review, we will review it the next Friday, because we save Fridays for tape reviews. So when you send our tape, you will be able to have your tape reviewed the next Friday with you. I mean, you don't have to wait a long time. That's the value. And Jeff, what do you say to people who say, well, you know what, my meetings aren't quite good enough to send in the tapes yet?
Well, they're never going to be good enough to send into us. That's the point, is to tape them so we can figure out what's going on. And here's the great thing about going through these tapes is 9 times out of 10, as soon as you do it, when you're listening to it, you'll catch it. You'll say, uh-oh, I see what I did there, even before we will. I mean, it's just amazing when you hear it for yourself that you can swear that, no, she just asked that question out of the blue. I was doing it exactly right, and I don't know why anyone would ask that question, but as soon as you hear the tape, you're like, oh, I know why she asked.
Yep.
Because I said...
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you pick it up, and when you pick it up like that, you will fix it. You won't be doing it again.
Yeah, and I want to pat Mickey on the back, because Mickey sent me in a ton of tapes, and he's made huge leaps and bounds forward in how well he's doing. So, guys, it's a powerful tool, and it costs you nothing except a little trepidation to send them into us. And you'll also see that we don't review the whole tape. I just pick one small part, so the tape review might only take 15 minutes. It doesn't even take the whole hour. I'm just going to find that one part that needs to be fixed, and we'll fix it right then and there, role play it 4 or 5 times, make sure you have it down, and it's fixed forever. We'll never have to address that again, and we can move on to the next problem, just like I did. Okay? So was this helpful to listen to other people's tape reviews, guys? And again, we try to get the best quality tapes, but sometimes when I want to point something out, it's not a great, so Steve says yes. So do everybody want to see more of these tape reviews, like maybe once a month? Okay, everybody's saying yes, that's good. Also, on your monthly meetings with Jeff and myself, please send in tapes for those as well. because that's a great use of your time with Jeff and myself on those small groups every single month to review those tapes. Okay? And again, Jeff, of all the things that we offer, the scripts, the events, all of that stuff, what is the most powerful tool we have for guys to see not 10% increases, but doubling and tripling of their incomes?
By far the tape review. Because every other tool revolves around that. Every other tool, it's a great tool if it's done properly, but the only way to know if it's being done properly or being used effectively is to tape it and send it in.
So guys, thanks for everybody letting me use your tapes. And again, guys, please use this tool. It's nobody else in the industry offers this. And every guy that have seen more than a $500,000 income, they sent me tapes. Okay? Because what you're doing is your meetings are getting closer to the exact same meeting as what I used to make almost $1 million a year, and what the dozen guys that I taught to go from making $150,000 to $1 million a year, the exact meetings that they used, and the exact meetings guys that doubled and tripled their incomes used. It's the exact same meeting. And if we use these tape reviews so you can get a little bit closer to that exact same meeting, your income is going to get very much closer to those exact same incomes, okay? So I appreciate everybody being on the call. Sorry for running a little bit late, and I hope you have a great weekend. Let's see, is next week, Missy, Memorial Day?
It sure is. So no call next Monday.
Okay, so I expect everybody on the call Monday morning. Not.
Don't confuse them.
So we won't be we won't be having this meeting obviously next Monday. I hope you all have a very wonderful and safe Memorial Day, and we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks. Oh, and guys, I'm going to be making phone calls out to everybody this week too. So if you've got issues or want to talk to me, I'm going to be reaching out to you. So make sure that you get back to me if we don't meet up. And rather than play phone tag, if you can give me or email me, sometimes it might work for you, or email Tricia, sometimes it works for you. But I do want to reach out and make sure everybody's getting what they want from us. So, because again, we appreciate everything that you do for us, and hopefully you think we're living up to your expectations of us. So I appreciate it all. You have a great week, and hopefully I'll talk to you later in the week. Thanks, everybody.